So, good morning. My name is Dalene Allen, Executive Director of BNI Nova Scotia. What's that? Business Network International, the world's largest business referral organization. And I'm thrilled to introduce you to Dandelion Digital and Allison Smith. And let me tell you what I love about her business is the fact she not only does incredible social media, but she also does it from the eye of a photographer. So Allison, welcome and tell me all about you.
Thanks so much, Dalene. My name is Allison, and I am a photographer and social media consultant. My background in photography actually started, I won't tell you how many years ago, but in high school. And I did my first few years working as a photographer with the military, actually in Germany, where I was posted with my father right out of high school, and where I met my husband, who is a caper. And so this is our final posting. We are in the HRM area now. And before being posted here, we were back in Edmonton, which is where my family is from. And I was working as a social media manager for our local Chamber of Commerce and then for an event services company. So putting the two things together, the photography and the events, and having covered both from the side of a social media manager and an event photographer, when I moved out here and started looking for work, I just gravitated to starting my own business. And am very grateful for the SCB program that Nova Scotia offers. And so last fall, I launched Dandelion Digital, and that's where we're at.
Excellent. And you're doing a great job. And I love dandelions because they refuse to stop growing. And I know your business here in Atlantic Canada is going to grow, and likely you could do global. But anyway, now we are, to tell people that listening to this, we are during the COVID lockdown, shutdown, whatever you want to call it. And now more than ever, is social media what people need to focus on for their business, Allison?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Social media is about staying top of mind. It's about maintaining a consistent online presence. It's not about selling. There is, of course, a selling component to it. You do want to find your ideal customer. You do want to have them be brought into your product or your service so that they believe in it and become a customer. But social media is about building relationships. And right now, more than ever, that is certainly what we need to do.
Exactly. And I couldn't agree with you more. When people have extra time on their hands, they're on social media more. So really promoting or being front and center, what are some suggestions during the pandemic that you could do for small business here?
The main thing, like I said, is making sure that they stay top of mind. Some of the things would be not so much about trying to push your selling of the product, but just keeping people aware, almost sort of under the radar, what that product or service does, how it benefits people. And then if they realize that they need that now, then they reach out. But if they realize that they need it later, when we are back to business, then if you keep them top of mind, that's when they reach out. So either way, you're building a relationship, which then builds the business.
Well, and something else that I think many of us as business owners, we're so busy working in our businesses that we don't always have time to work on our business. And every time we post something to social media, isn't that an opportunity to engage and start a conversation?
Absolutely. And that's critical. The idea of being on social media is the word social. So you don't want to just post. You want to engage. You want to be social. You want to comment on other people's posts and, encourage them and share a thought with them. And then it becomes a back and forth. It becomes a conversation. It becomes social. And that's the concept.
And certainly the conversation, I think many times, are what people are missing. That they post this, they get engagement, but they don't really strike up the conversation. And from the conversation, don't you find relationships happen?
That's the whole point. Yeah, build the relationships. It's like this. It's like sitting down and talking, but you're typing. It's almost like, you text. My kids, they're on their Snapchat all the time, and they're having a conversation. They're engaging. They're communicating. They're telling their stories. So a business, it's really not that much different. You're telling your stories. You're sharing your pictures. You're keeping your audience informed, and you're just, again, it's all about building the relationships.
Yes. And sharing stories too, isn't it? Because let's say I've been in business long enough. I've lived through the 2007-8. I've lived through, 9/11. That this too shall pass. But at least, don't you find today we have more tools to keep the lines of communication open?
100%. 100%.
Yeah. Imagine if there was none of what we're doing right now, Allison, we would be all going a little stir crazy. So I know
isolated right now doesn't mean we're alone. And social media plays a big part in that.
Definitely. So I know you've got all kinds of social media tips for people. What are some of the ones that many people don't know about?
The last few clients that I've talked to, the one thing that really sticks out would be when you want to reach people, but you're not getting a lot of engagement, you can definitely go into paid ads. But what's nice about paid ads, for instance, with Facebook, is that you can target your audience. So for instance, if I have a shop in Bedford, let's say it's a flower shop, and it's Mother's Day is coming up, so that's perfect. So if I have a flower shop in Bedford, I want to target my ads to reach maybe men only, or maybe men and women from the ages of 30 to 42.
Okay.
And I want them to be within 15 miles of Bedford. And I want them to like hockey.
Wow.
Any little thing like that. Or I want them to have a university degree, or I want them to be in the trades. You can really pinpoint your target audience so that they're the only ones that actually see your ad. And you can say, I only want to spend $5 a day for 10 days. So you've created a $50 budget that reaches 4,000 people in a very specified area that is specifically around your business.
That's amazing. Wow. Now, I know you do lots of different services, but why not share some of the ones? Because you likely have something for every budget, don't you, Allison?
Sure thing. I tend to focus more on Generation X entrepreneurs for social media. And a lot of the reason for that is they're my people, for one, but they also tend to have more in their lives or they want more in their lives than just their business. They want to take that stress off their plate for their own things, to spend time with their family or on their projects, or to go to the beach on the weekends, whatever it may be. And a lot of them, I'm in this group, so I don't mean any offense, but a lot of them aren't up to date on the social media aspects and the different things that they can do for their business. A lot of them just focus on it for their personal lives and keeping in touch with their families. So I do offer one-on-one coaching so that if they want to keep their own social media for themselves, they can. But then I teach them little things like Facebook ads and hashtags and those kind of things that they can just develop and work on their own. Or I will do content services for them so that they can just take it off their plate altogether and know that it's going to be consistent, which is key, is to have a consistent plan in place so that when people are following your Facebook or your Instagram or your LinkedIn or Twitter or whatever it may be, they know what to expect and they know when to expect it. And it follows like a routine. So I do the coaching and the content services. I can even just take a look at your Facebook or your Instagram or Twitter, whatever your platform is, and just help you tweak it, analyze it, find out maybe what you're missing or where it can be developed a little bit further. And then lastly, the other thing that I do is, you mentioned I'm a photographer, and that was my original background. So whether it be on its own or within a program that we develop, I offer product photos, branding photos, so that if, for instance, we mentioned Mother's Day. Mother's Day is 2 weeks away. If you haven't already started your advertising or your promoting or your posting, and I'm not necessarily saying, you know, sales, but just, you know, tips and happiness for mom, then you're almost behind the ball. So photos from your shop could have been taken months ago, so that now you have all these pretty pictures to post. So that's kind of part of the package, is that I'll take the photos for you and we do them well in advance so that you have them ready to promote. And some of the things that I would also suggest would be, in order for people to, we'll take the flower shop idea instead. Still, right now, you could be talking about things that have nothing to do with your shop, but are more about horticulture and gardening, and, you know, when is the best time to plant, and what is a good, I have a black thumb. So these are the kind of things that I would be interested in, right? Like right now I have little seed starters. They're not taking. Why not? Right? Like, just information, put yourself out there as an expert in your field and share your knowledge without sell.
Exactly. So that creates the following, that if we take the time to engage, starts the relationship that,
Build
that
trust.
can, exactly. So another thing, if I could sort of say, you're kind of like an umbrella for what you can offer people, because I find there are so many platforms that people are on, and if we don't have somebody like you to help us as business owners or business people, or something that we have to promote, we could be doing one or two things, but unless you look at the overall picture and it's not coordinated, what happens, Allison?
You just kind of fall off. You blend in. You don't stand out. So in order to stand out, you really should have a plan and have that trust built in to your audience.
So then you can also share tips on how you can post in advance or use some kind of a tool. I'm not sure what that's called.
Just a scheduling program. There
Yeah.
are lots of several ones.
Yeah, but these are all the kind of tips. So if somebody still loves to have their hands in their social media, but there are other things that could be farmed out, it doesn't have to be taken totally away, right?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So any other tips or tricks that you could pass along?
Well, Dalene, what's the one thing that you have trouble with in your social media?
Well, that's a really good question. So I think the biggest thing is how to kind of make sure that we're getting a consistent message, that what you're doing is serving you. And you brought up such a good thing about Facebook ads. So when you're really looking at this, if somebody really is working with you, then you're able to have that view to say, if you're going to spend money, here's likely your best return.
For sure.
Excellent.
You picked something up.
Yeah. Oh, listen, always. And so if you are looking for social media help, Allison from Dandelion Digital, and tell us why the dandelion. I love that in your logo.
I am a base brat. My father was Air Force. My husband is Army. My kids are military kids. And it's funny because today, as we're talking, is April 30th, which is the Day of the Military Child.
Oh, wow.
And April has been the month of the military child. So the dandelion is our official flower. And it just came to me. You know, I like the way Dandelion Digital rolls off the tongue. But it also has that meaning to our family.
Well, and here's the other thing I love about dandelions. That's so into social media, because if you look at the number of whatever they call those little things that we would blow, that's what you're doing for people with your social media, is that you can take that one bloom but magnify it in many, many ways so that somebody does have that consistent message out there. And again, it's one thing to have a social media person, but the reason you want to talk to Allison, when you have a photographer who understands that good quality images are also totally affecting your business. But anyway, Allison, it was a pleasure to chat with you today. And anything else you want to add before we go?
I just appreciate the time. Thank you very much, Dalene.
Thank you. Have a great day, everyone.